I said 10 years ago that Manchester United should never have sold Danny Welbeck. He's gone away and done brilliantly well.
Let's be real about Danny Welbeck, because Chelsea signing a 35-year-old striker might be one of the strangest transfers of the summer.
Biggest threat, Minte's cross, the brilliant one! And Danny Welbeck, right on cue!
This is a club that has spent years building around youth, and now, with Welbeck set to join on a 2-year contract until 2028.
What are Chelsea cooking? What is Xabi Alonso cooking? It's crazy to think Danny Welbeck is still playing at his age of 35 when he played against your manager. If you're watching, Chelsea fans, your manager Xabi Alonso.
Chelsea are suddenly turning to a striker who made his Premier League debut when some of their youngsters were still in primary school.
You know, Xabi Alonso, I heard him speaking the other day. He was talking about the need for maturity. He was implying that there is a lack of maturity in this squad. The lack of maturity has panicked him, and he's therefore gone out into the transfer market to try and put it right.
The deal with Brighton is in place, with his medical the next step. So yes, the jokes practically write themselves, but then you actually look at the player Chelsea are getting. Welbeck has just produced the best Premier League goal-scoring season of his entire career.
But let's just start with current form. 13 Premier League goals for Brighton last season. That's after 10 Premier League goals in 24-25. Back-to-back double-figure Premier League goals at 34 and 35 years of age. Not just that, his all-round game is absolutely sensational. He's playing some of the best football of his career right now.
13 goals in 37 appearances for Brighton, after scoring 10 the season before. And Chelsea know exactly how dangerous he can still be. He scored twice at Stamford Bridge when Brighton beat them 3-1 last season. And this is where the transfer becomes much more interesting. Chelsea already have João Pedro. They have younger forwards. They certainly aren't signing Welbeck because they believe he's their striker for the next decade. They're signing something this squad has been missing: Premier League experience, physical presence, leadership, a proven backup striker, and someone Xabi Alonso believes can help a young dressing room right now. Chelsea's pursuit of Welbeck is part of a deliberate shift toward adding more established players around their younger core. Some Chelsea fans will look at his age and think this makes absolutely no sense. Others might look at what Welbeck is still doing at 35 and realise Chelsea could have found exactly the kind of signing they weren't making before. Because maybe the strangest thing about this transfer isn't that Chelsea want Danny Welbeck. Maybe it's that Danny Welbeck might actually make perfect sense. So let's be real about him. Why have Chelsea suddenly broken their own transfer habits for a 35-year-old striker? And exactly what does Xabi Alonso see that everyone else is missing?
Once you get past the age, this transfer starts making much more sense. Danny Welbeck is 35. Chelsea's squad is built around players in their early 20s. And on the surface, those two facts look completely incompatible. But that is exactly why Chelsea want him. Xabi Alonso has inherited one of the youngest squads in the Premier League, and Chelsea are clearly trying to add something they have been missing: experience that can actually contribute on the pitch. Welbeck is not arriving to replace João Pedro. He is not arriving to block Morgan Rogers, and Chelsea are definitely not building their attack around him for the next 5 years. He would be there to give Alonso a completely different option. Last season, Welbeck scored 13 Premier League goals in 37 appearances, the best league return of his entire career. He did that in only 2,252 minutes, which works out at roughly 0.52 goals per 90 minutes. That is not sentimental recruitment, that is useful production, and Chelsea experienced it themselves. In September, Brighton were trailing 1-0 at Stamford Bridge when Welbeck came off the bench. He scored twice as Brighton turned the game around and won 3-1. His first was a powerful header. His second came deep into stoppage time when he finished the move emphatically. That performance tells you what Chelsea are buying. Danny Welbeck can play from the start, but he is also comfortable entering a match when defenders are tired, occupying centre-backs, competing physically and giving the attack a focal point.
The strange thing about Welbeck is that his career has almost trained people to underestimate him. Everyone remembers the injuries. Everyone remembers the years when he never quite became the superstar Manchester United thought he might become. But the Brighton version of Welbeck is different, less explosive, much smarter. He no longer has to win every battle with pace because his movement does a lot of the work before the ball even arrives. Watch him around the penalty area. He constantly moves across centre-backs instead of standing directly between them. He knows when to drop short and drag a defender out. He knows when to attack the near post. And because he is 1.85 metres tall, he gives Chelsea an aerial presence that some of their other forwards simply do not provide. Then there is the part that probably matters even more to Alonso. Welbeck is understanding pressing. Brighton, under Fabian Hürzeler, have been one of the Premier League's more aggressive pressing teams, and Welbeck has been trusted to lead that first line. Against Liverpool in March, Brighton pressed with real intensity, and Welbeck scored both goals in a 1-2 win. Hürzeler said the key was how aggressively Brighton pressed and how hard they worked without the ball. That fits Alonso. But here's the real reason this transfer becomes interesting. Chelsea are not just buying a striker, they're buying a professional standard. Hürzeler has repeatedly called Welbeck a leader, a role model, and a connector between Brighton's experienced players and their younger talent. He's praised his preparation, fitness, and the influence he has on young players away from matches. Chelsea need that. Morgan Rogers is 23, Cole Palmer is still only 24, Giovanni Quenda is a teenager, Marco Palestra is young. Even many of Chelsea's established players are still developing. Welbeck has won the Premier League. He's played for Manchester United and Arsenal. He's represented England at World Cups. There are situations in a season that he has already lived through several times, and that has value that does not appear in an expected goals chart.
This is where the signing becomes slightly provocative, because Chelsea have spent the last few years almost religiously targeting young players with resale value. Now they are preparing to pay a fee for a 35-year-old. That looks like Chelsea abandoning their strategy. I think it might actually show the strategy is maturing. A squad cannot be built entirely around future value. Eventually, somebody has to know what to do when a title race becomes ugly in February. Somebody has to know how to enter a Champions League knockout game with 20 minutes remaining and protect the ball. Somebody has to tell a young forward when to slow down rather than attack every possession at full speed. Welbeck can do those things. And tactically, Alonso does not need him to play 50 matches. That is the key. Brighton already managed Welbeck carefully. Last season he started 26 of his 37 league appearances, completing only 7 full matches. Hürzeler openly explained that Brighton adjusted Welbeck's training load because of his age, allowing him to stay available and productive. Chelsea can do exactly the same. João Pedro can start. Welbeck can replace him. They can play together if Chelsea need more presence in the box. Welbeck can start certain league games while younger forwards rest, and when Chelsea face a deep defensive block, having an experienced striker who attacks crosses and occupies centre-backs gives Alonso another route to goal. There is also a financial logic. Chelsea have just committed major money to Morgan Rogers while continuing to invest heavily in younger players. Welbeck is not another $100 million gamble. He's a shorter-term solution designed to support the expensive talent already there. Rogers has officially joined Chelsea until 2033, while Quenda, Palestra and Emmanuel Emega have also strengthened Alonso's options this summer. Of course, there is risk. He's 35. His injury history cannot simply be ignored. And Chelsea fans will not be patient if the goals disappear. But Welbeck does not need to become a superstar for this move to work. If he gives Chelsea 8, 10 or 12 important goals, if he allows João Pedro to rest,
if he helps Chelsea close games, and if younger players benefit from having someone around who understands the demands of elite English football, then suddenly this transfer looks very different. Because maybe Chelsea finally realised that a young squad does not always need another wonder kid. Sometimes it needs an adult.
So let's be real about Danny Welbeck. Chelsea are not signing the Manchester United prospect people once expected to become England's next great striker. They're signing the player he became after all of that. More experienced, more intelligent, more efficient with his movement, and strangely, more productive than ever. 13 Premier League goals at 35 tells you he can still contribute. His pressing tells you he can fit Alonso's football. His career tells you he has seen almost everything this Chelsea squad is still learning to deal with. And maybe that is why this transfer feels so strange. Chelsea spent years trying to build the future. Now they are finally adding somebody who understands the present. And if Danny Welbeck helps this young Chelsea team grow up faster than expected, signing a 35-year-old striker might end up looking a lot smarter than people are laughing about right now.